You know that moment. It's late. Your phone is in your hand. You already sent the long text, the honest one, the careful one, the one you rewrote 3 times so it wouldn't sound needy, even though deep down you knew that's exactly how it would feel. She replied with 2 dry sentences, or maybe just a heart, or maybe nothing at all. And now you're staring at the screen, refreshing, checking, waiting, feeling your whole body tighten like your piece is trapped inside her next message. And in your head, it's loud. Why does this keep happening? What else am I supposed to do? Why does caring this much make her pull away? Am I too much? Am I losing her? Here's the truth nobody tells you. She's not pulling away because you care too much. She's pulling away because your fear is arriving louder than your love. And no, that does not make you weak. You're not failing at love. You're not broken. And this is not proof that you chose the wrong person. Bro, so many people who love deeply get stuck right here. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why chasing almost always creates more distance, what she actually feels when you do it, and what to become instead if you want real connection, real safety, and a relationship that stops feeling like a constant fight for closeness. Let's get into it. The mindset reframe. Most couples believe that when one person starts drifting, the answer is to try harder. More texts, more explaining, more proving, more fixing, more what's wrong, more are we okay, more emotional reaching. But the real truth is this. When someone's nervous system already feels overwhelmed, your extra effort can land as pressure instead of love. That's the part most people miss. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before her mind can catch up. She feels the urgency in your tone. She feels the tension beneath the question. She feels when your presence is really a bid for reassurance disguised as care. And once that happens, she doesn't feel closer. She feels responsible for regulating your fear. That changes everything. Because what looks like her becoming cold is often her becoming overloaded. What looks like indifference is often self-protection. What looks like she doesn't care is sometimes, I don't feel safe enough to relax around this right now. And you do the same thing. You just do it differently. This is where attachment comes in. If your system leans anxious, distance feels like danger, so you move closer. You explain more, reach more, push for clarity. If her system leans avoidant or just emotionally flooded, pressure feels like danger, so she moves back, she gets quiet, delays, shuts down. Not because love disappeared, because safety did. Not less love, not less chemistry, not some evil game, but 2 nervous systems caught in a cycle they don't understand. And here's what changes everything. Stopping the chase is not about becoming cold, detached, or manipulative. It's not playing hard to get, not acting unbothered, not punishing her silence with your silence. It's learning how to stay emotionally available without abandoning yourself in the process. That's the shift. And once you see it, you stop trying to force connection. You start creating the conditions where connection can breathe. 1. Urgency is not intimacy. Most couples confuse intensity with connection. When things feel shaky, most people in relationships start talking more, texting more, explaining more, asking more, because they think more contact will create more closeness. But beneath the surface, urgency rarely feels like love to the person receiving it. It feels like pressure. It feels like a demand. It feels like, I need you to make me feel okay right now. And when she feels that, her nervous system doesn't soften. It braces. That's why chasing backfires. Because what you call effort, she may experience as emotional weight. What you call fighting for the relationship, she may feel as being cornered inside a conversation she's not ready to have. Her brain is quietly registering, I don't have room to breathe in this. So notice the difference. The disconnecting version sounds like this. Why are you being like this? I'm trying. Can you just tell me what's wrong? I need to know where we stand. The connecting version sounds like this. I can feel some distance between us. I care about you, and I'm here. You don't have to answer right this second. I just want us to be real when we do talk. Same moment, very different energy. One chases, one stays present. And when you do that, the room around the relationship gets bigger. And she can finally feel your presence without feeling pinned down by it. 2. Space is not rejection. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples treat space like a threat. The second one person needs room, the other person hears, I'm losing them, and the cycle begins. But space is not always disconnection. Sometimes it's regulation. Sometimes it's the only way a flooded nervous system can come back online. Your smoke detector doesn't know the difference between a real fire and burnt toast. It just sounds the alarm. A person in shutdown works the same way. Most people in relationships don't realize this, so they chase harder the moment the other person gets quiet. And that's exactly what makes the quiet last longer. Now listen carefully. Stopping the chase does not mean disappearing, not ghosting her, not pulling some alpha move, not becoming emotionally unavailable so she learns a lesson. Man, that's not maturity. That's wounded pride wearing a mask. Real space sounds different. The disconnecting version says, "Fine, do whatever you want. I'm done trying." The connecting version says, "I can tell this feels heavy right now. Let's take a breath and come back to it tonight or tomorrow. I'm not going anywhere." Do you hear the difference? One says, "You're on your own." The other says, "You're safe, even in the pause." And that's the shift that turns distance from a threat into a bridge. Because she stops feeling like your only job is to keep her close. 3. Hear the fear beneath her tone. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most couples react to the words being said and miss the feeling beneath them. They hear irritation, criticism, withdrawal, or sharpness, and they respond to the surface instead of the wound. But beneath the surface, her tone is often carrying something older, something unspoken. Maybe disappointment, maybe exhaustion, maybe the familiar ache of not feeling chosen, not feeling understood, not feeling emotionally met. What comes out as annoyance is often pain that no longer believes softness will work. So if she says, "It's fine," you hear disrespect. But what she may actually mean is, "I don't trust that explaining this again will change anything." If she says, "Forget it," what may be moving through her is, "I already feel alone in this conversation." Most people in relationships get defensive here. They say, "Why are you attacking me?" Or, "Nothing I do is ever enough for you." And now, two people are protecting themselves instead of understanding each other. The connecting version sounds different. Disconnecting. Her, "You never really listen." You, "That's not true. I listen all the time. Why do you always exaggerate?" Connecting. Her, "You never really listen." You, "Okay, you sound hurt. Tell me where you felt alone with me." That question changes the whole room, because you stop arguing with the exact wording and start responding to the emotional reality beneath it. And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to raise your voice. 4. Stop managing her feelings. This is where it gets really interesting. Most couples think love means making the other person feel better as fast as possible. So when she's upset, you jump in with solutions, reassurance, logic, explanations, silver linings. But here's what nobody explains. Being emotionally available is not the same as being emotionally controlling. A lot of chasing is actually emotional management. You don't just want closeness. You want the discomfort to end. You want the tension to go away. You want her sadness, frustration, or distance to stop making you feel powerless. And she feels that. She feels when your comfort is really an attempt to move her out of the feeling before she's ready. She feels when your listening has an agenda. Her inner world starts saying, "He's not with me. He's trying to get me somewhere." Most people in relationships do this without realizing it. The disconnecting version sounds like, "You're overthinking it. I said I'm sorry. What else do you want me to do?" The connecting version sounds like, "I can see this still hurt you. I'm not going to rush you out of it. I'm here." That is not passive. That is powerful. Not fixing, not minimizing, not trying to wrap the moment up with a bow, but staying grounded enough to let another human being have a real emotional experience in front of you. That's not a communication hack. This is just what two emotionally mature people naturally do. And that's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to solve and starts feeling safe enough to unfold in front of you. 5. Become harder to shake. Most couples never say this part out loud, but a lot of relationship tension comes from one person feeling like they have to constantly manage the emotional weather of the other. If your mood collapses every time she gets distant, If your sense of worth rises and falls based on how warm she is that day, if one unread text can ruin your whole night, she feels it, even when you say nothing. Presence has weight. Energy communicates. Your nervous system speaks before your mouth does. And no, this is not about becoming stoic in some performative way, not bottling things up, not pretending you don't care, not turning into stone. It's about becoming emotionally steady enough that your love feels like shelter instead of surveillance. Most people in relationships have never learned this. They think self-abandonment is romance. They think obsession is devotion. They think being consumed means being committed. But real connection needs two whole people, not one person disappearing inside the fear of losing the other. So the disconnecting version looks like this. She takes a few hours to herself and you spiral. You send, "Are you mad at me?" Then, "Did I do something?" Then, "I guess I'll just leave you alone." The connecting version looks like this. You feel the trigger. You breathe. You regulate. And later you say, "When we go quiet suddenly, I notice I get in my head. I'm working on not reacting from that. Just wanted to be honest." That is strength. That is ownership. That is a man who can stay with himself without making her responsible for rescuing him. And when you do that, she stops feeling your anxiety as a second job and starts feeling your presence as something solid she can actually rest into. 6. Repair happens in the small moments. Intimacy is not built in the big speeches. It's built in the 30-second moments. The ones most couples miss because they're waiting for some dramatic breakthrough conversation to fix everything. But emotional drift is rarely caused by one catastrophic event. It's more like scar tissue. It forms slowly over 100 small moments that never got repaired. The look you didn't notice. The sigh you dismissed. The joke that landed hard. The bid for connection you were too distracted to catch. That's how walls get built. Quietly, repeatedly, beneath the surface. So if you stop chasing but never start turning toward, nothing really changes. Because the goal is not less effort, it's different effort. The disconnecting version sounds like this. She says, "You've been distant lately." You say, "I've just been busy. You know how work is." The connecting version sounds like this. She says, "You've been distant lately." You say, "Yeah, I think you're right. I've been physically here, but not really present. I don't want that to become our pattern." That line matters. Because her brain quietly registers, he sees it too. I'm not alone in this. Or maybe the moment is smaller. She starts telling you about her day. Disconnecting you keeps scrolling. Connecting you puts the phone down, looks up and says, "Wait, say that again. I want to actually hear this." That's repair. Tiny, real, repeated. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that felt like two people coexisting into one where both people can feel each other turning back toward the connection. 7. Let her come towards something real. And here's what changes everything. Most couples think stopping the chase is about strategy, about making her miss you, about pulling back so she leans in, about finally winning the dynamic. But real love doesn't grow in games. It grows in truth. If you stop chasing as a tactic, she will feel that too. Because emotional manipulation has a texture. It still feels pressured. It still feels performative. It still says, "I'm doing this to get a reaction." The real shift is deeper. You stop chasing because you no longer want a connection built on fear. You stop over-pursuing because you want to show up as someone emotionally available, self-respecting, and real. Someone who can offer love without begging for proof. Someone who can invite closeness without forcing it. That's different. So the disconnecting version sounds like, "I'm done texting first. Let's see how long it takes her to notice." The connecting version sounds like, "I care about this connection. I'm willing to show up for it, but I'm not going to abandon myself trying to drag it forward alone." That line changes your whole identity because now you're not reacting, you're choosing. And when she feels that, something in her can finally soften and say, "He's not trying to control this. He's actually here." That is what allows desire to come back. That is what allows safety to return. That is what lets love come out from underground. Because the truth is, people move closer to what feels safe, steady, and real. Not louder conversations, not more proving, not carefully calculated distance, but a grounded presence that says, "I want connection, and I'm not going to lose myself trying to force it. And that's when your relationship stops feeling like a negotiation and starts feeling like a refuge. So no, this isn't a checklist for how to get her attention back. It's bigger than that. This is an invitation to become the kind of partner whose presence creates safety instead of pressure, clarity instead of chaos, and connection instead of cycles. When you internalize this, you stop treating love like something you have to chase down and pin to the floor. You start becoming someone who can hold space, tell the truth, regulate your own fear, and turn toward the person you love without trying to control how fast they come back. That changes your relationships, but even more than that, it changes you. Because these aren't tips for keeping a woman. They're the beginning of becoming emotionally mature enough to love without losing yourself in the process. And here's the mic drop truth. The moment you stop chasing for reassurance is the moment you finally become safe enough to be truly loved.